Yes. We are back for the next video in this series where we'll be exploring how we do storytelling with Scratch. And if you remember where we left off in the last video, we said we had a challenge, and I suggested a hack for us to get around that challenge. The challenge was basically we had this if statement which checked for the backdrop if the backdrop was right for our sprites to show. Okay, so we said this if statement had to happen in a forever loop, because our code will have to be checking all through the project if the scene is right, just to make sure that Avery and Anina would show. Okay, so if you notice, this is Anina's code. Avery also has the same code. Now, after they show, they should have a conversation, right? That's, I mean, what's the point? They're showing and they don't have a conversation. So we started a conversation right after the show block. So this is the conversation where the conversation started. Actually, Anina started the conversation, and if you notice, Avery had a wait block after her own show block, because she would have to wait while Anina was talking. Okay, so that's why if you notice, her wait block is having 3 seconds there. Alright, so I mean, if you wanted to know exactly how we do dialogues, you could watch the very earliest videos we did in this series. Anyways, onto the hack. So the hack was, we wanted this if statement to only happen once, so that the conversation would only happen once. Okay, if we the challenge was the conversation kept happening over and over and over again. All right, so the hack was to create a variable called temp, and the temp variable would hold the value of 0 at the beginning of our program, and inside the if statement it would be changed to 1. Alright, now the idea was the if statement now would not only check for the backdrop, if the backdrop was the third one, it would also ensure and check if temp is equal to 0. And guess what? Temp only gets equal to 0 once. Why? Because it's outside the forever loop. You notice that? Okay, so the idea was, once temp is set to 0, this if statement will only happen once. Now the reason is the AND block ensures that both conditions that it kind of cojoins must be true for the whole condition to be true. Okay, so if this is true and this one is false, of course by then temp would have been 1, then the if statement would never be executed, or will not be executed. But guess what? It's going to get executed once, because temp will be 0 and the backdrop will be 3 while the conversation is going on. Okay, now after that temp gets set to 1 when we're done with the conversation. How about that? That's a cool hack, right? Remember, if you have an alternative to ensure that this code runs only once, please let me know in the comments, or send me an email, or somehow just reach out to me and let me know what hack you came up with. Now it's time to test our code. Let's see this thing work. Yay! Right. Okay, there is a problem somewhere. Alright, let's take this up from the start. Okay, so Avery is talking to the cat. Alright, I'm off to school. We'll talk later. Bye. Goodbye, Avery. Have a lovely day. You too, kitty cat. And yes, kitty cat has disappeared. Avery keeps walking. She's taking her time. We might make Avery walk a little faster, or just fill in the space. Well, whatever. So Avery is going off the stage now, and yes, you sure you really want to learn how to dance? Yes. Okay, I'll give it my best shot. Did you see that? That's cool. That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. So what did you notice? The conversation only happened once. All right. Now, I think there's some things we need to do about Avery's the costume. Avery should actually raise her hands up. Okay. So let's go check Avery's costumes and see which one. Okay. So we should have Avery raising her hand up at the time. Okay. So we're going to switch her costume to A. Alright. So at the beginning of the code it's B. Okay. So we need to make sure that Avery's costume is also, anytime you change stuff, make sure that the previous stuff, the other stuff is somewhere at the beginning. Okay. So I'm going to have this switch costume to Avery A to Avery B somewhere on top. So it's going to happen only once. Okay. Of course, that's even before she shows. So I'm going to switch it to Avery B. Then later on it can change to Avery A. Alright. Now, what next needs to be changed? Yes, for Anina needs to also switch her costume when she's done talking. Are you sure you really want to learn how to dance? And when Avery is done talking, she's supposed to say, now Avery says her, okay, I'll give it my best shot. Okay. She should say that for, alright, so let's say 2 seconds. Okay, I'll give it my best shot. Anina is supposed to wait for, let's give her 3 seconds. Alright, and then after she's done waiting for 3 seconds, she's supposed to say alright, supposed to say, alright, let's start then. And then, oh no, she's supposed to say something, not think something. Okay, so let's put back our temp variable where it belongs. Alright, and move the say something to where we want it to be. So she's supposed to say, alright then. Let's start. Okay. Okay. Alright. So she says, alright then, let's start. And her costume should change to let's see what her costume should change to. Now let's take a look at her costumes. The second one is top Anina top stance, I think. Okay, so we're going to change it. Okay, we're going to change it back to Anina stance. So Anina top stance should be the second one, or top stand. Okay. Alright. So remember, anytime you change stuff, you need to set it to the original value you want it to be at the beginning of the code. Okay. So let's see how the code plays out. Alright. Okay. Now you see, testing this code is really fun. you'll enjoy it more in the